Hey everyone, welcome to another $1,000 strap search. I've got my $1,000 in singles here and I'm about to show you what I found. But before I do, let's talk about this week's tip. Now, for the most part, you see me collecting American currency. There are times that I will dabble into foreign currency, and sometimes I find it interesting the differences. Like with American currency, during the Civil War, we issued fractional currency because people were hoarding precious metals. That sounds familiar. Anyway, the fractional currency that was issued by the government at the time was there to alleviate the stress on businesses who were struggling to make change for their customers. And these fractional pieces of paper did not go over very well at all. But in Canada at the same time, they were having similar issues. And they came up with fractional currency, and everybody in Canada loved the idea. They actually called them shin plasters, but I'll get into that a little later. What I'm getting at, though, is it's interesting how one country, the US, hated fractionals, and our neighbors to the north totally embraced them. So, what is the deal with Canadian fractionals? Well, that's what today is going to be about after I show you, of course, my Vegas pulls. So let's see what I found this week. These were from my last group of Vegas notes, and this was kind of the outskirts and things like that. This came from Red Rock, Silverton, Palms, the W, Boulder Station, Palace Station, and Samstown, and then also the Gold Coast. So that's where these notes came from. So let's slide these out of the way and take a look at what I found this week. I could not resist pulling this. Okay, what is this? It's nothing is what it is, okay? First and foremost, it starts off 0123. And there are people, I won't mention any names, Kingdom Currency, who will tell you that if you have a 4-digit ladder, that's worth money. Then they will go on to tell you that if your 4-digit ladder starts with zeros, ones, twos, or threes in that first position, it's worth a lot more money. No, it is not. It's a 4-digit ladder. I've done videos on 4-digit ladders. They are worthless. There is no premium on 0123. If this was 0123 4, 5, 6, 7, well, that would be different. Now all of a sudden you'd have something that would be worth thousands of dollars. You'd have an upward ladder. At a glance, I can tell you that this is a birthday note. This would be January 23rd, 2010, so it's proper that way. But the main reason that I pulled this is because if you have a note that has 2 digits, that's called a binary. If those 2 digits are zeros and ones, that's known as a true binary based on the binary code, binary system. There is such a thing as a binary code. Computer programmers will tell you zeros and ones is the binary code. So there was a demand for zeros and ones on notes. Those are called true binaries and do carry a little bit of additional value. People hear that concept and they can't find true binaries because, what do you know, true binaries are hard to find. That's why they're worth money. So they try to make them easier to find by saying, well, we're going to call them trinaries. And if you can find a note that has 3 different digits, that's a trinary. Trinaries aren't worth anything. But if you can find a trinary with zeros, ones, and twos, we're going to call that a true trinary. So we're going to take that little number combination and make it worth more money, even though zeros, ones, and twos are no more common than any other 3-digit combination. And there is no trinary code. Okay, there is a binary code. That's why zeros and ones are important for the binary code. But there is no zeros, ones, and twos code. There is nothing that makes a quote-unquote true trinary special other than it's the lowest digits. Okay, you are not saving zeros and ones on a true binary because they're the lowest digits. You're saving zeros and ones on a true binary because of the binary code. So for the scam artists and shysters telling you that a true trinary is zeros, ones, and twos, they're basing it on nothing other than trying to make a commonly found note seem rare and seem valuable. It is not. So let's step it up one more notch. What's the next evolution in these fake notes? Well, this note is all zeros, ones, twos, and threes. So would that be a true quadrinary? See how I'm just making stuff up? Me making up a true quadrinary is no different than them making up a true trinary. It doesn't exist as a thing. It's not rare. It's a way of taking a segment of trinaries and trying to make them seem rare. And this is a way of taking a segment of nothing and trying to make it into something. It's not. But this is a birthday note, so we'll give you that. January 23rd, 2010. All right. Here's some more trinaries, and once again, I save trinaries not because they're worth anything, but because I try to match pairs. You guys have seen my matched pairs in the past. If I needed money, I could take my entire box of trinaries to the bank, deposit it, and I'd still have every cent I ever spent on trinaries. Okay, so I collect them for fun. Your hobby should be fun. Okay, zeros, fives, and eights on this trinary, ones, twos, and nines on this one. Ones, threes, and sevens here. Ones, threes, and fives here. This is ones, twos, and sixes. Twos, threes, and nines. And some stars. This is a star from 2021, the last year that they're making stars. Kind of rough shape. Once again, I had people saying, I thought they stopped making stars. I'm still getting stars, and here's a 2021. Yes, 2021 is the last year for stars. 2017 star, 2017 A star note. One word on stars. There are literally billions of stars in circulation. You want to save stars because they're neat? Great. But there isn't going to be any significant value on circulated common stars for generations. Generations, not months or years. Generations. Your grandkids might be able to sell a circulated star note from a common print run for a little bit over face. There's going to be con men telling you that these are worth $5, $10, $20 a piece right now. No, not the case. I have 1,000 stars in a box. So are you telling me that they're worth $100 a piece? So my 1,000 stars are worth $100,000? Is that what you're telling me? No. They might be worth $2 or $3, maybe, if they're in good condition. If they're not in good condition, there are thousands of them available. So no. Let's see. Older notes. 2003A. I save things that are 20 years and older. 2003A. 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 1999. 1999. Decent shape on that one. That's still pretty crisp. And the note that I actually found this trip that has some actual monetary value. I found this at the Gold Coast. This was in one of the straps when I brought it home. What do you notice about this note? It starts off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Okay? This is not 5 of a kind. This is not 5 in a row. Because it starts with 5 zeros, this is actually a low serial number, 138. This is number 138 off of the DD block. That's a low serial number. If it only starts with 4 zeros, no, that's not. This one starts with 5 zeros. So this is known as a 3-digit serial number. I have searched 350,000 notes. This is the first 3-digit serial number I ever found in circulation. Do you see how that's rare? 350,000 notes searched, I found this one. I had one that somebody gifted to me because they knew I didn't have one, but this one I found. Can I stress rare? Okay. Now, even with that being said, if this was a 2-digit note, this would be worth $100, $150 or so. As a 3-digit note, this is probably only in the $20 to $50 range. So for people that are selling 4-digit notes that start with 4 zeros, if you are selling 4-digit notes for $20 to $50 because they're graded, you are ripping people off. Because this note is in the $20 to $50 range. I am not selling this note. It's the first one I ever found. This most certainly is going to be part of my collection. And yeah, very cool to have found one at my Vegas searches. So I was really happy about that. Okay, so what did I pull out this week? This is a fractional from Canada. This particular fractional is from 1923, and I'm just going to pull the slip out of here so you can see the whole note. 1923 Dominion of Canada 25-cent fractional. Now, they started issuing fractionals, I want to say in 1838, was it? I'll have to double check the book. But compared to a regular size note, you can see how small this is compared to a regular size note. So it's very similar to our fractionals. And you can see there's the date on 3rd July 2nd, 1923. Taking a look at the back, you can see all the detail work there. And you can see, you can read on the bottom there. I can't read it, but you guys can probably read it on the screen because my eyes are terrible. Canadian Banknote Company Limited, that's what it says there. So very cool design there. Not in the greatest of shape. It does have a couple folds, a little bit of handling on it as well. But still a cool example of the note from the Dominion of Canada. The Dominion of Canada will pay on demand 25, and it doesn't even say, oh, there, 25 cents. That's where it says it. And Canadian Banknote Company Limited on the bottom. 2 signatures there. So very cool note. This one is a black seal. Sometimes they did different colored seals for different print runs. And you can check that in the book. And when I say book, what book am I talking about? Well, that would be the Canadian Government Paper Money, a Charlton Standard Guide. So this is known as the Charlton Catalog. The Charlton book, mine is old. Mine's from 2019, but that's fine. I don't do a whole lot with Canada notes, so I'm not too worried about price changes. I'm more concerned about if a note is worth $20 or if a note is worth $2,000. So as long as I have this as a guide, I know I'm paying fair price for the notes. When you look inside, this book, by the way, is full color. The organizational, I wish the Freeburg book was as organized as this book. Not to say that the Freeburg isn't, but United States of the Paper Money could learn something from how this book is organized. Anyway, there it is, the 25-cent issue from 1923. And if I remember right, I think they were talking about the fractionals in this one here. 25-cent issue. I should find that for you guys. But before I do, let's take a look at the pricing on this one. My particular one, I went through all the signatures and everything else, is DC24C. McCavor and Saunders. You can see it is the most popular version with over 5 million printed. And this book starts off in good. Okay, most of our price guides start off in VG, which is very good, VG 8. Then you're talking 12. So in a VG8, this is a $14 note. In a 12, it's $25. By the time you get to a 20, it's $35. In a 40, you're looking at $65. And by the time you get to uncirculated, you're talking $250. And the obvious question is that in American or Canadian money? Well, this being the Charlton Guide from Canada, that would be the Canadian price. However, the other way that I always think about it is if you were in Canada, you'd be paying Canadian price for it. You are not in Canada, which means it costs more to get it here. So that little bit of conversion, I understand that there's I'm not even sure what the price is, but it's always been between 75 and 90 cents on the dollar throughout the course of most of my life. So that's always how I think of it. That little bit of difference in price, I always think of that as the cost of doing business between the two countries. So that puts this particular note in about that $35 range. I figure this is about a 20. So yeah, that's what the book has to say about that. Let me see if I can find the paragraph I was talking about before. All right, here it is in the book. Let's see if I can do this here. I should just put it up there and let you guys read it, but I will make the effort. The 1870 25-cent fractional note. At the time of the American Civil War, U.S. silver coin became depreciated by 5% relative to gold. The situation caused the American silver, mostly of the 25-cent and 50-cent denominations, to pour into Canada when it was still received at face value. Banks and post offices would not accept these coins, so retailers sold them at a discount to brokers, who in turn derived their livelihoods by selling the depreciated silver back to manufacturers and buyers of grain and cattle. Thus, the cycle repeated, and the American silver nuisance resulted in hardship to farmers, merchants, and factory workers who had no choice but to accept their losses. The government also suffered because the $1 and $2 province of Canada notes issued by the Dominion government after Confederation were being crowned out of circulation. Sir Francis Hincks, Minister of Finance in 1870, devised a three-pronged attack on the problem. The government would buy up the American silver at a discount, progressing from 5% to 6%, and export it, then peg its legal value at an artificially low 80 cents on the dollar to ensure against its return to the country. To take its place, the first ever silver coins of the Dominion of Canada were ordered from the Royal Mint in London. Finally, as a temporary measure, 25-cent fractional notes were to be printed and issued to provide change while the new coinage was being prepared. Banks were opposed to the introduction of the paper shin plasters, but the fact that they were redeemable in gold when presented in quantity went a long way toward making fractional notes acceptable. Hincks' maneuvers were they were successful. Enough American silver was repatriated to New York to saturate the markets there, and the remainder was shipped to England as bullion. There was one unexpected outcome, however. Far from being a temporary issue as planned, the fractional notes became popular with the public and persisted in circulation for the next 65 years. Many attribute the expression shin plaster to the use of fractional U.S. notes by soldiers of the Revolutionary War period to prevent their boots from chafing. The term was first used in Canada with reference to the merchant script, which appeared in abundance from 1837 to 1838. Just a note about the U.S. notes being U.S. notes by soldiers of the Revolutionary War. They would use those notes because if you are talking about fractional currency from the Revolutionary War, you are talking about constitutional currency, or from the continental currency, which wasn't really backed by anything. So if we were losing the war, those notes became worthless. They were just used for padding at certain points. So shin plasters is the nickname, and it actually comes from the Revolutionary War in the U.S., even though the nickname stuck for these in Canada. So that's what I got for you guys this week. If you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.